Bobo here with BrassReel Brothers. Thanks for coming back for some more popcorns. Real quick before we get started, if you haven't done so already, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the like button. Well, it's Valentine's Day and I thought, hey, why don't I review something that's like straight up on the nose? And I was going to cover the two My Bloody Valentine movies, and I'll probably get to that next year. But this one popped up on Shudder out of the blue. The sort of unheard of Valentine. So this one is kind of like a little bit of a re-envisioning of the My Bloody Valentine story. But this one came out in a time where slashers were kind of booming again because of the success of Scream. And I remember when this one came out, but somehow or another it just slipped past me. I never saw it. And as the years went by, it became tougher and tougher to get a hold of and tougher to find. In fact, this movie and another movie, Cherry Falls, which a lot of reviewers that I watch on YouTube that are my favorite reviewers recommend these two movies. They're like, hey, these are some sort of under the radar 90s slashers or 90s-esque slashers you need to watch. And I'm telling you, finding these two movies has been really difficult. But then out of nowhere, they just popped up this month on Shudder. So real quick, I watched Cherry Falls. Ugh. I'm just gonna say that was a really bad letdown. I'm not sure why people like that one. Whoa! Spilling shit. Sorry about that. And Valentine turned out to be really good, you know, for a 90s-esque slasher. But I thought the plot was cool, the kills were good, the tone was good, it worked. And it's kind of crazy that it's taken me this long to see this movie. It's directed by Jamie Blanks and it's starring Denise Richards, Katherine Heigl, Marley Shelton, David Boreanaz, like all these people that were slightly up and coming at the time. And the way the cover depicts these characters, it makes you think that Denise Richards is going to be the lead girl in it, but actually Marley Shelton's the lead girl. But for me, what a slasher needs to have is kind of a few elements. It needs to have crazy, awesome kills or creative kills. It needs to have a good pace. It needs to have a scary killer, creepy shots, a twist possibly, and it needs to confuse you. It needs to pull you left and right, making you wonder who the killer is. To me, all those elements make a good slasher. Now, wondering who the killer is, that's not a necessarily element to make it a slasher, but that can add to the slasher to make it just have that much more gravity. The whole plot of this movie is basically very similar to My Bloody Valentine. This is actually based off of a novel called Valentine. We see this like opening scene back in the 80s, and it was this Valentine's Day dance, and this one like nerdy kid was trying to hook up with this other kind of overweight girl that was made fun of. Both of them were made fun of, and they were hooking up under the bleachers at this dance. The nerdy dude kid gets beaten up by these other jock kids, and it just like sets the premise for this whole slasher thing. Cut to years down the road, these girls are all successful now, they've remained friends, but they're all starting to receive these morbid Valentine's Day cards in the mail. And they're starting to drop one by one because this killer's going around killing people in a Cupid mask, which I gotta say is pretty creepy, and it works well with the plot of this film. That's a big deal in movies, trying to figure out a mask. But as far as all those elements I said that it takes to make a slasher, it checks all those boxes. I just really like the cleverness of this film. It's refreshing, and the whole idea of basing it around a holiday, that was something they did a ton in the 80s with slasher films. In fact, at some point, I think they've covered every single holiday for some sort of horror film or a slasher. I mean, this one right here we're reviewing wasn't even the first one for Valentine's Day, but that's a thing in slasher movies that sort of like gives slashers a reason to be made. It's a seasonal thing, so I enjoy it when they do that. Yeah, it's on the nose, but that's a subgenre of slashers that I appreciate. I have fun with these movies. I'm not sitting here trying to be like, you gotta see this movie, man, it scared the shit out of me. No, it's just like, hey, let's go have fun with this slasher. And that's what this one was. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely a pleasant surprise compared to the Cherry Falls one that I watched, because I watched both of these in the same day.
This is my post. I can't just split.
Cherry Falls.
Not only is this killer killing people in this Cupid mask, but some of the times the kills are really clever in sort of a Valentine's Day way, especially when he actually kills the girl with like the Cupid arrows. And the killer's messing with them too by sending them like chocolates filled with maggots and ugh. That part's super gnarly. Sometimes that stuff can be a little bit more disturbing to me than like somebody getting killed, like having somebody eating something nasty they didn't realize they were eating. Another thing this movie does too is it makes you think you know who the killer is from the get-go. From the events that you see in the very beginning of the movie, that sort of opening scene back in the 80s. It's making you think, oh, I know who the killer is this whole time. It does a really good job of pulling you back and forth, trying to throw red herrings out there, making you think, oh, maybe this guy. I mean, even so much at some point you're thinking it's the cop that's trying to help him find the killer. So in that aspect, I really like it. Like I said, the kills are really good. There's this iron scene that I really like where the killer kills this dude with an iron. Love that. It's definitely a little sexy bikini kill in the hot tub with Denise Richards. Yeah, spoiler alert, she gets it. They also don't shove the killer down your face either. Like sometimes you're watching this movie and things are happening to the girls, but you hadn't seen the killer in a while. And a lot of slashers, you'll see the killer like every 10 to 15 minutes, or you'll see the presence of the killer. But in this movie, the killer's messing with them a lot of the time, not just killing people. In fact, there's not a lot of kills. I think there's only like 4 or 5 kills in this movie, but the killer's messing with them a lot the whole time. Even up to the very end, last seconds of the film, you're still kind of questioning who the killer is, and they do this really cool thing, spoiler alert big time now, where they're making you feel like that this person's the killer. They're making you feel like, oh, David Boreanaz, I figured it out, he's the killer. And there's a fight scene and a chase scene with him at the end that's really clever. You realize that somebody else is the killer by the end after this sort of fight scene, chase scene with him. It just does it in a way to where he's not attacking her, but because of what she's seen and all the dead bodies she's found, she thinks he's attacking her. I don't know, it's just really cleverly done. I can appreciate that. Overall, this movie I really had a lot of fun with. One of the things to me though that makes a slasher like a full-on top-notch slasher, something like Scream, is the purpose behind the killings, the motive, why this person was doing it. And for me, Scream knocked it out of the park on the motive. So this one, the motive's not all that crazy and you kind of see it coming from a mile away. However, it's all really well done and well executed. So I give Valentine from 2001 the B. Well, that'll do it for this review, guys. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button so you can help us make it to the top. And as always, if life gives you lemons, make some hot, fresh popcorn.